Okay, so we are already live on Facebook and live on Zoom, and we have already our first attendees. So welcome everyone to our super interesting webinar, because we have lots of guests and lots of interesting programs to present to you, dear friends. And I'm sure you will get very important and useful information, and definitely some of you will send your applications to one of these programs, I'm sure. So my name is Georgi, and today I will be host and at the same time moderator of a webinar, and I will be helped with the moderation by Eileen, who you can see also on the screen, my colleague, and she will be answering your questions in the Q&A. And of course, we have, as I said, lots of guests who will be presenting their programs. Today we have 3 programs that will be presented, so keep tuned and connect as much as you can. Those who are on Facebook, Eileen also shared Zoom ID on Facebook, so those who want to put their questions in the Q&A, they are welcome to join on Zoom and put their questions there. So just some formalities. We are not, dear attendees, you cannot use the chat function. It's only for our guests and for Eileen, who will be sharing with you some interested links and information. But as I said, you can always put your question in a Q&A, which is in the below part of the Zoom. You can see it and you can ask your questions. Now, let me jump into my short presentation, and then the speakers will take over. So just a second, I will share my screen very quickly. Okay. Yes. Eileen, let me know if it's not visible, the screen, if everything is fine.
Yeah,
okay.
We can see it.
Then I will proceed. So, as you know, dear friends, dear attendees, today's webinar is about studying civil engineering, architecture, and urban planning in Germany. So just shortly to tell you about MyGermanUniversity. So we are Germany's largest database of English taught programs, study programs. We have over 2,100 programs, both bachelor and masters. We also have lots of information, lots of useful information for you always. We provide it through webinars, but also through very comprehensive and interesting articles. For today, we have more than 70 comprehensive articles and on different topics that you can always go to our website at mygermanuniversity.com, and you can see these articles. And Eileen, if you could please share these articles link with our attendees. And as I said, we have webinars quite often, I would say at least 3 times a week, and approximately 150 webinars per year. We have different topics like subject webinars, like today's webinar. We have also topics like scholarship, uni assist, visa, etc., etc. And you always can go to our website to the page of webinars and register for the upcoming webinars as well. You're always welcome to do that. And as I said, MyGermanUniversity, I forgot to mention that we are based in Hamburg, Germany, but we are an international team joining you and counseling in different languages from different parts of the world, from Brazil, from China, from Spain, etc., etc. And yeah, despite the fact that we are based in Germany, we are everywhere, we are international. Okay, so let me now share with you today's agenda shortly. So as I said, we have 3 guests, 3 speakers today, 3 programs. So the first who will present program will be from Fachhochschule Erfurt, Professor Dr. Arndt, and he will present master's program in sustainable engineering of infrastructure. It will follow, then it will be followed by Deggendorf Institute of Technology. And we have Professor Dr. Lar, who will present also master's program in healthy and sustainable buildings. And last but not least, we'll close our session with the guest from Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences, Professor Dr. Jung, and he will present the master's program in advanced architecture. So you can see we have lots of interesting guests, and you are always welcome, dear friends, to ask as much questions as you can, because as long as you have this chance, this great chance. And before I hand it over to our guests, as I said, I will make a short presentation that might be useful for you. So first of all, it's interesting to know that roughly speaking, there are two databases that you should know about. So the first one is Hochschulkompass, which is offered by German's Rectors Conference. And if you go to this database, and if you try to search for programs of civil engineering, architecture, urban planning, or related programs, you will be able to find 555 degree programs, but only 44 programs will be in English. So this is for mostly for those who are searching for German taught programs, for students who want to study on German taught programs. But if you want to search for English taught programs, then MyGermanUniversity comes into play, and there you can find 74 study programs that are related to civil engineering, architecture, and urban planning. Okay, let's move forward a bit quicker now, so not to take a lot of your time. And we also have subject pages where you can find more detailed and at the same time general information about this or that subject, for example, about architecture, urban and special planning, and civil engineering. So you can see here the links, and I'll ask Eileen to share these links in the chat as well. So when you go to the subject pages, you can see general information about which universities are teaching these subjects, what are their rankings, what are generally the range, what is the range of tuition fees when it comes to these subjects, etc., etc. So this is, I think, really useful for those who are not sure for how to prepare and what to expect. So this is really important for those. So our pro tip and our recommendation also would be that of course, you should look for the right university profile and study program, but also at the same time, you should not be guided just by fees, by rankings, by names of cities, etc., etc. So don't be guided only by quantitative measures, because I know lots of students search for programs by going to rankings, to international rankings, and according to the rankings, they decide which program is best. But these rankings, of course, they are really nice and important, but they not always catch what is needed for you as a student, and you can be always misguided. So just as a note, you should remember always that in Germany, there are lots of great universities, lots of great programs, and they're not only based in, like students think, in Berlin or Munich. There are lots of smaller towns, lots of medium towns, and they really provide the high quality education. So don't miss these programs as well. Don't be guided only by names and by rankings. Dig a little bit deeper. This is my advice. And now quickly to summarize, also, roughly speaking, there are two university types that you should know about. The first one is Universität, or university. And if you go to our study finder and you want to search for these programs, like related to civil engineering or related programs, and you want these programs to be provided by this type of university, which is Universität, you will be able to find 21 degree programs, and you can see some examples of these types of universities. And another one is universities of applied sciences. So, and here, if you want to find programs in civil engineering or related programs which are offering which are offered by universities of applied sciences, you can find through our study finder 30 such kind of programs. And of course, then the question pops up, so what is really the difference between university and University of Applied Sciences? We are always expecting this question, and not to really dig deeper into it, we want to tell you that before we used to say that University of Applied Sciences do not provide this opportunity of getting PhD, but it's not true. And that's why we have tick and cross here, because some of them do provide this opportunity. And speaking even broader, the main difference, I would say, is that when it comes to Universität or university, then we have more theory-oriented programs, more focus on research and theory orientation. But when it comes to University of Applied Sciences, then comes into place the practice, the importance of practice and application. So there we have more practice-oriented programs. This is something that, the main difference that you should know about, dear attendees. And now, before going to our first guest, one more advice from our side. So don't, when you're searching for the programs, it's not necessary that the program should be word by word the one that you want to find. For example, it will not always be like civil engineering only word by word. It can be like advanced architecture, architectural and cultural heritage, architectural lighting design. So what I want to say that the wording sometimes can be different. So in order to not miss really good programs, don't be guided by only this strict wording. Okay, now the most important part of our today's presentation and webinar. I have a pleasure to introduce to you our special guest number one. I already mentioned in the beginning, Professor Dr. Arndt from Fachhochschule Erfurt, who is full professor and laboratory head, and he will present a master's program in sustainable engineering of infrastructure. And you can see also on the map where you can locate Erfurt. It's fairly in the center of Germany. So now, Professor Arndt, the floor is yours. I will stop sharing my screen right now.
Thank you very much, Georgie. And I will try to share my presentation. So give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you again, Georgie, for the introduction and for the opportunity also to MyGermanUniversity to present here our new program. And also thank you, Georgie, for introducing actually what a University of Applied Science is, because actually Fachhochschule Erfurt means University of Applied Science in Erfurt. So we start there a new program next April. So in April 2022, it's called Sustainable Engineering of Infrastructure, SEI. And it's actually a master's program in civil engineering. And I'm laboratory head, as you said. So I'm a professor of building materials and also building diagnostic, but I'm also the head of the degree program of SEE. So what was the reason to start this program? We have a lot of challenges today about climate change, the scarcity of resources, the consolidation of metropolitan areas. We all talk about digitalization, globalization. I'm not talking now about COVID-19, but all these challenges requests from civil engineers to fulfill certain tasks and to find certain solutions. And that's why we started this master's program in civil engineering, focusing on these challenges, on sustainable civil engineering. Why I want you to come to Erfurt, to our University of Applied Science? There are 5 main reasons to study with us. One is to become an expert in sustainable civil engineering. Then you might get bright career options and have practice with state-of-the-art tools and hand-on programs of our school, which is actually a state school. I should mention that also. You can complete a practical specialization and write your master's thesis while working in engineering and construction companies. As Georgie said, we have, as a school of University of Applied Science, we have a strong focus actually on practical applications. So I talk shortly about each of these points. So to become an expert in sustainable civil engineering, we started this quite unique program for Germany. We have relevant topics there, such as geodesign, natural resources depletion and projection, urban water management, building in existing context, and so forth. Here you can see the full program. It's a 3-semester program. We have our practical specialization, which you see at the bottom, which runs through all 3 semesters. And then we have in the first semester our BIM and digital project management, pavement maintenance, numerics, construction economics, and international project management. We have our natural resources, depletion and projection. And then we have an elective lecture where you also can take language classes or other subjects which you might like. Then in the second semester, the winter term, so actually we start in summer term, which means actually spring in Germany. So we start on April, usually April, the first week of April or something like that. So in the winter semester, which usually starts in mid-October, we have geodesign, ground improvement and piling, urban water management, hydraulic, engineering in urban environment, and then my subject, urban infrastructure, diagnostics and conservation, and also another elective lecture where you can also choose from different options. And then the third semester, we close with communication techniques and soft skills from our basic school. And then you can finish with the master thesis. So point two, you might have great career options. So as a graduate of the SEI master's program, you can gain theoretical and practical skills that will open the door to work in relevant fields of civil engineering as planning, drafting, calculation, and management on civil engineering, and infrastructure projects. Talking about point three, the practice, the state-of-the-art tools and hands-on programs. So we have a quite, in our department of civil engineering at the University of Applied Science Erfurt, which is shortly in FHE, yeah, F for Fachhochschule, has plenty of specialist planning of laboratories and state-of-the-art computer labs and PC pools. So my own lab, the diagnostics lab, but we have a BIM lab. Also my lab, the building materials, testing lab, concrete and cement labs, geodesign labs, geotechnical labs, pavement labs, environmental lab, water hydraulic labs, and so forth, computer pools. So every subject we teach, we have usually a lab or a computer lab to do that. Then you will have the opportunity for the practical specialization. So the 3 semester, you can work on a self-chosen subject in one of the topic areas. So if you want to do pavement studies or you want geodesign, you can do this over the 3 semesters and finish in the 3rd semester with a colloquium. You can also do this overseas or in different schools if you want, or in institutes or in companies. So the options are not limited at all. Point 5, of course, the finish with your thesis in a 14-week. The master thesis, where you also can, of course, use a lot of opportunities also with our collaborative construction and engineering companies. We have a very good network in Erfurt, which is actually the capital of one of our states, Thüringen. I will talk about this more later. So, but then I have 5 more additions why you should study SEE at FHE. So first, you get engineering education degree made in Germany. So we do basically the same stuff we teach in Germany here for English students. Our program is fully in English. We have, as I mentioned, a close collaboration also with Basic School, which is part of the school, and our language center. So for students who would like to improve their English skills, or maybe even want to learn German, when you think about maybe you want to work in Germany later, there's also the opportunity to do that. And we have no study fees at all. There are some administration fees, I will talk about it, but we have no fees for courses or something like that. And last but not least, Erfurt is a beautiful medieval city. So we have a lot of old churches and a castle and things like that. In the classic heart of Germany, classic means Weimar is close by, where Goethe and Schiller lived and so forth. So it's a old cultural center of Germany. About the SEE degree in short overview, so it's a Master of Engineering. The application is from October to December 15th. When you're not a German, so if you have no German qualifications, you can apply through Uni Assist. So for EU or non-EU citizens. And as I mentioned before, the summer semester starts usually in the beginning of April. The duration is 3 semesters, so 1.5 years, and the ECTS, so you get 90 credit points, is a 90 credit points degree. What are the requirements? You need a bachelor's degree in civil engineering with usually 210 CP. If you don't have them, you have to acquire them. And you need language requirements, something like CERF B2, or as you see mentioned here, so the IE LTS minimum of 6, or TOEFL CBT minimum 213, and so forth. Of of course, if you're a native speaker, you don't need that. You need to document this, although that you are this. So you can find this also by MyGermanUniversity, these informations. So what I mentioned before, we have about the administration. So we have no study fee. We have some costs. I call it administration fee. So 70, that's state at this moment, July 2021. So there might be small changes. Yeah, I don't know, €5 more or less, usually more coming in the next years or something like that. But that's about the amount you have. So it's about €74 for student services. Then you have a large amount for the semester ticket. So you can drive all over Thüringen and in Erfurt, of course, also with public transportation, with the regional trains and so forth. So when you're a student, you get that. Then there is a small amount for student council. In total, about €250. Then you have to buy a Tosca card. That's an electrical device where you can use our cantina and the library. So you have to buy this card and for €20, I think. And then if you apply through Uni Assist, they have also the applications fee. I think it is about 75 in all. And if you apply for different one, it's €30 each. But I think Uni Assist can tell you this better than I do. Shortly about our university. So Fachhochschule Erfurt is a young school. It was founded after the reunification of Germany. It was formerly East Germany. As I mentioned, I think 2 times now before, Fachhochschule means University of Applied Sciences, which is a combination of scientific education, but with a strong focus on practice-oriented applications. So FHE means established, modern practice, or is a practice university with very good reputation. None of our civil engineering students ever is looking long for jobs. We have a modern mission statement, which is at the moment also overhauled. And we usually have front places in civil engineering degrees in our national rankings. We are not in these international rankings because so far we didn't have any English program. We just start this right here. We have numerous fruitful contacts to economy, local economy, intensive networking in the city and in the region and in the state. And we are growing international as well. Particularly noteworthy is a very good cooperation we have with our various regional and municipal companies, institutes, and institutions in the state of Thüringen, where Erfurt, by the way, is a capital city. So so Thüringen is one of the 16 states of Germany, and Erfurt is the capital of this state. This new master's program guarantees an effective, tight course of study that enables quick paths to professional practice and at the same time opens the door to further academic education. Application-oriented teaching with practice-oriented research optimally prepares students for their future professional activity. We have extensive offerings for learning languages, intercultural competences, key and basic qualifications round off our training offers. Thus, we think, as a University of Applied Sciences in Erfurt is at the same time a university with tradition and a future with practice-oriented and up-to-date education. This is our campus. We have about 5 or 4 locations. So here on the right top is our green campus. On the left, here is our architecture campus, but we are here basically in our main campus, which you can see here, where we are located as well. Here's some, how do we do the teaching with lectures, exercises, seminar, excursion, practical trainings, and so forth. So as I mentioned, we are a very practical oriented university. About Erfurt, to finish all this, as I mentioned, Erfurt is located in the center of, quite close to the geographical center of Germany in the state of Thüringen. It's the capital of that state with about 200, I think 14,000 citizens at the moment. It is a medieval university city. The most famous student is in our partner school, University Erfurt, Martin Luther. Maybe some of you have heard of him. He was a student here and also did his PhD here. And it is always elected Erfurt Old Town as one of the most beautiful old towns in Germany. Last we were 3rd place in Travelbook 2019. We have very nice old town with pubs and so forth. And also it's very well located with a new train center of Germany. It's about 30 minutes from Weimar. Maybe you have heard about that. The famous classical city is part of Thüringen. It's about 20 minutes train ride. It's about only 1 hour, 45 minutes to Berlin, 2 hours, 30 minutes to Frankfurt or Munich. So it's really in the center of Germany. So optimal location in the state capital gives students the opportunity to access a variety of job opportunities while enjoying the nice environment like Thüringer Wald, Thüringer Forest, nightlife, pubs, surroundings, and so forth. So you can also, of course, find information with MyGermanUniversity. You can visit our website. Are there any questions right now for me? I might answer, and I want to thank you for your attention. And let's see the chat, or if there is anything.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Arndt. This was really great, very interesting and very concise. And actually, we have quite a lot of questions, but in the chat. So, but as I said, maybe towards end I will collect some. But you are now already welcome. If you want, you can already answer some of them in the chat, because the interest is really high, as I see, because there are really a lot of questions directed to your program.
I hope I can answer them. Yeah, if not, don't. If I cannot answer them, you can also send me email, right? So no problem.
Yeah, so dear attendees, as you could hear, you're always welcome to contact the program directly, and I will always be happy to help you. Yes, and we can also put this in the chat, this email, by the way. Eileen, please, could you do that really quickly? Or even I can do it. Just a second, Ralf.
Okay. Should I switch off then and go into the chat to open?
Now I shared, I was just copying the email. I shared it in the chat. So if anyone wants to ask additional questions, they can email you. But yeah, you can, as I said, you can also see some of the questions in the chat, in the Q&A section. Okay, so once again, thank you very much. That was really interesting. And from the amount of questions, we can already understand that the students or potential students really like that.
Okay, now, I go to the chat. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I would like to ask you to stop sharing your screen right now. And I will introduce now our next guest. So it's Professor Dr. Jung from Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences. Now we again moving like this on the map. We are again towards the center, more or less, I would say. The very interesting city of Frankfurt, to where I have been to a lot of times, and I really like it. So to other two cities, I have not been yet, but I will definitely. So Professor Dr. Jung is head of a degree course of advanced architecture, and he will present today master's program in advanced architecture. I will stop sharing my screen right now, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation to MyGermanUniversity. My compliments to my two colleagues having talked on various interesting programs. I would like you, dear attendees, inform about a program in Frankfurt. Frankfurt might be fairly known. Here, a couple of images just to introduce the city. You see a skyline of the city, how it should look like in a couple of years. But you see also in the black and white photo an image of the first attempt to build an old city in the 1980s. There's a bit of very interesting engineering happening in Frankfurt, was actually and is still. Here you see the central station, which was an absolute avant-garde project at the time of its making, of its design. And you see also the wholesale market hall, which was a big undertaking at its time, here now added to with the European Central Bank. And there's very interesting architecture. And my background is, I'm an architect, but primarily I'm working in the architecture history and the theory and in the conservation of monuments, listed monuments, but also I'm focusing on the existing context and how to deal with these. So here you see a building by Peter Behrens, and you see a tank stop. The Frankfurt University of Applied Sciences has a series of bachelor programs. We're talking about faculty number 1, and it's unifying architecture, civil engineering, geomatics, and real estate and facility management. That's the lower part. We're talking about the possibilities to do master programs, and we're talking primarily about the architecture. There are other very interesting programs which in part, only in part, are covering topics we have just heard about, and but which are not at the center of my presentation. I will briefly talk about architecture, the Architect Master Program in Architecture, which is a German program taught in German, in order then to move on to the advanced architecture. The reason for this is that the advanced architecture is a kind of an offspring of the master program in architecture. This is a couple of images of the Barcelona pavilion, which will structure my presentation. I'm not going into more detail on the dates, which are defining the first line, when it was built, when it was reconstructed, and when it was renovated. The lower dates, the one 1908 is the start of our architecture school, or somewhat architecture school. It has been reformed in 1931, 1971, and then in 2006 we actually started together with the Bologna process with the bachelor and master programs. So it's a fairly long existing program. It's a well-reputed program, and certainly for the region of Hessen. I'm not going through all the details, of course, of the German program. As I said, I would like you to understand somewhat what we are starting, what is actually the German program, and in order to understand better what we are as an offspring. So let me do this by showing you this graph, which you should read from bottom to up, and which shows the semesters in sequence. You see a central area here called Entwerfen, which is design projects. There's a second important area, which is equally occupying 30 credit points, which is on construction in various forms, and then you have elective modules. So we are a program which is very much focusing the German program, but also the international program on design and construction. We have it in our title, as you will see in a second. And then we have these elective modules, which are kind of defining the specific profile, and which are giving you many chances to precise your the architecture training. Our program, again, you see here the Barcelona pavilion. Our program is a fairly young one. We have started it in 2016. In 2018, we we were intaking the first group of students. Now, 4 years later, or with the fourth intake, we are a program which runs quite well. The last number of application was 200. 100 about were eligible for various reasons, which I'm happy to explain later. And we were able to take 25. We are admitting actually only 20 per year, and we do this in April again for the summer semester. It's the same building actually on the photos, the same Barcelona pavilion, and we are focusing also on the misses of modernity, but we definitely focus on design and on construction. And here you see the building eventually completed, and you see as well the construction site. Our program has a different flyer. You were seeing earlier the flyer of the master program, the German master program. And here you see it's called Advanced Architecture from Urban Design to Building Construction. We are trying to cover this wide range. And it's a Master of Science, and I'm going to try to explain why. I'm not going to read all this material to you. I'm happy to send you this flyer, but let's return to that in a second. To me, important is our intention, which is the central area, which I enlarged here, and allow me to read this to you, to read it out. Our intentions are that students gain broad knowledge of design and constructions through a combination of lecture series and modules that discuss design and construction in the areas of urban design of buildings in existing contexts and design of new buildings in built environments. So we are focusing very much on these three areas, of course, also in their combination. This is accompanied by internationally oriented projects and numerous elective modules. Through a specialization project and the elective modules, students are able to focus on individual interests, which may then become the focus of their master thesis. More on this in a second. Moreover, 30 ECTS can be chosen from the German master's program, design course, architecture, if students have the necessary German language skills. Actually, also this needs to be specified in a second. By intensively studying several contexts from a global, diversity-oriented and multicultural point of view, students develop an ability to independently translate abstract designs into concrete implementations of material construction. They are able to combine professional, practical, technical, economic, ecological, and social aspects while taking the respective cultural, historical, and climatic situations into consideration at the same time. You understand also why I was complimenting the two colleagues introducing us to their programs for this incredible and well thought through approach. In the fourth semester, students write their master's thesis and take part in their colloquium. The modules are supposed to complement each other and are linked to one another, for example, through combined projects, excursions, lectures, conferences, and e-learning. Integrated international structure of the degree course offers the chance of a unique study experience in the future-oriented metropolitan city of Frankfurt. How does it look like in more detail? Here you see the Advanced Architecture Program module overview. And again, you see that we have, similar to the German program, we are an offspring of. We have the design courses in the center. but making a difference between urban contexts, new buildings, and existing contexts. Here I can only and totally agree with my colleague. It's 1% which we build anew every year, and 75% of each euro goes into the existing context here in Europe, but not only. And the blue ones are also here, including the elective courses, so-called WPM, Wahlpflichtmodule. The idea behind the color is that we are sharing or are able to share these modules with the German program for students who want to add to their capacities. You are invited, of course, to German-speaking courses in German, language courses to improve your German skills and have the possibility not only to attend these other courses, of course, which are then recognized in our program, but also to work in the work market in Frankfurt. But let me return to this as well. The courses framed in magenta are courses which we do not share with the German program, which are ours, so-called, in quotation marks, and these are including lecture series courses on design and construction. We have impromptu designs, an international design project, international design and building project, and specialization projects. And let me tell you a little more about that. This is just for structuring my presentation. Here we are back in Barcelona. The advanced architecture course is doing these design courses, and I have a couple of images from an earlier courses. Here you see an urban design and construction course as an example. Actually, it's not so much urban. Normally, we are trying to focus on Frankfurt, also to bring to know the students from all over the world. And we have students from South America to Southeast Asia and around the globe, to have them encountering the urban planning ideas of here in Frankfurt, here in Germany, in Europe. But this time we also moved to a smaller place to see here in white cardboard the interventions of the students, trying to integrate into an existing and quite well working context, but there were spots open, and so to integrate that. Here you see a project in the making, the museum for Hamburg. The important thing was not so much the typology, of course. It very much, that's what this thing here is not showing, the construction process, and that's of course one of our 4 strong elements. You see an intervention in existing context between 2 churches, between 2 listed monuments, and trying to integrate into an urban planning, which is actually quite of interest from the post-war times, Nordweststadt. We have elective courses, and we have quite many, 18 at the moment. We are going to have 24. In some future, we are working currently on our examination regulations and the module handbook, and we are showing you here the yellow ones are given in English, the 𝘗𝘢𝘪𝘥, but in German. But of course, as Erasmus students, also you with a certain basic knowledge in German would then be allowed into these grayish ones, if you are interested. Here's an example for such a course, an elective course focusing here on how to construct in an area which is so very different of what you encounter in Germany. And here we are in the region of the Mount Everest, and how to adapt your construction to that. The important approach, of course, also here is to understand what does that mean for how to construct things also in the one-to-one detail. More about courses we have. We are not sharing here the impromptu designs. This is basically an exercise. Here we are in Berlin. It's an exercise which is requiring you to do a design and with some idea of a construction in lesser than a week for some important place. This year we did work on 32 of the most famous, internationally most famous buildings, and tried to understand how to deal with these icons. In the International Design and Build project, it's extremely important, this second part, which is building. We do here focus on the design, which is then brought up to the one-to-one scale. And here you see sketches, preliminary sketches, which were then eventually brought to realization. The International Design Project is a project which where we try to cooperate with international partners. Here we were working with a university in Belgium, a long-standing partner. At the moment, we are preparing cooperation with a university program in the United States for the forthcoming winter semester. We are focusing on adaptive reuse concepts here on a building which is somewhat trying to redevelop Le Corbusier's unité d'habitation, and we try to understand how to transfer this into the 21st century and to reuse it in an adaptive form. The specialization project is something which we are very proud of, very much appreciate. It's a research project. We have colleagues which are united in a kind of a research lab and focusing on very different things, on new materials, on sound, reducing facades, or on the architecture history, as I am doing it actually. And the students are absolutely free to choose their topic, their supervisor. They might bring their topic from their home countries, focus on it, try to understand it in more depth and how to deal with it. And eventually, these specialization projects then can be brought into the master thesis as a free thesis. Here you see, just as an example, a student working on Robin Hood Gardens, a project by the Smithsons, Peter and Allison, and he was interested why that building was actually, after being so much appraised in the beginning, destroyed at the end. The thesis project comes up in the 4th semester. Here an example, which I actually said some time ago when we were cooperating with Leuven. This is a silo complex you see here encircled with some adjacent buildings, and the task was to develop an adaptive reuse scenario for this building. I'm here at the end of my presentation, going back to a graph we had in the beginning. The advanced architecture program is very well described in many details, in I think all details, on the website of the 𝘱𝘓𝘕, which you see here in a red rectangle. If you just search for 𝘸𝘪𝘵 and international programs, you find the advanced architecture program. But I'm happy also to share this, this link in the chat. And of course, you have MyGermanUniversity site, which is, however, leading at the moment exclusively to our website, university website, and yeah, among us, the 𝘸𝘪𝘵's website is more informative. At the end, we are happy to ask to respond to your questions, and I would like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Jung, for this really comprehensive and detailed presentation. And we had, as in case of other programs, several questions directly specifically to you. And now I will invite all our speakers, and we'll shortly ask you some brief final questions, as we not to take a lot of your time. I would like once again thank you all for these wonderful presentations, informative presentations, and as you could see also from in the chat, that we had over 50, over even 60 questions, and over 15 have been asked. So thanks for those who have been answering these questions. And now, Professor Dr. Arndt, also if you are still with us and there were no technical difficulties, yes, and now we can see you as well. So let me tell you, ask the first question, because I saw in the chat there were a lot of questions regarding these requirements, but specifically regarding the GPA requirement and age requirement, if there are any limitations in this regard. So maybe let's start with Professor Dr. Jung, who has just finished his presentation. So if there are any GPA or age requirements that this program has with it.
Yes, there are. It's a 2.3 calculating according to the German system, but actually we are not considering only the GPA, but we are requesting a portfolio. We are requesting practical experience, and as I said, from the about 100 students which had a 2.3 or better, we at the end would nevertheless take only 25 or 24. So the GPA is one thing, but it's very important to have this portfolio and to focus on the topics we are focusing on. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And before moving to Professor Dr. Lahr, I would ask Eileen to share in the chat the GPA converter, just so that students know what does it mean, the German system, so that they can easily orient what does it mean. And Professor Dr. Arndt, you would also add something from your side?
Yes, we also have the requirements. It's a 2, I think, in German marks, and it's a two-step program. So basically, we pick. So you need to be better than 2, and then we pick the 80 best, and you have to also to write an expose. And from the 80 bests, if you get so many, I don't know. We take the 20 best exposés, and there is a committee who selects this. So, and of course, if there is a decision to make and 2 are equal, then also other points come in as well. It's only open for civil engineering because we discussed it a lot. Some of us wanted to open it. Some said, oh, we have to do a lot of calculations and stuff. So in the end, we decided to only open it for applicants who have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. That was our decision. Maybe we change this in the future, but at the moment, that's how it is.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this answer. Actually, you also answered, all of you, some of the other questions that we already posed. And just to attend these, as you can see, you have quite a lot of work to do for the application. So you should start as soon as possible for preparing all these things. And last but not least, really quickly, you have all of you have touched upon this point, but some students joined a bit later or could not hear at that moment. Maybe one more time, could you repeat? So if the student has has taught in all English program, a bachelor was totally in English, does she or he need any additional proof? So let's now start from Professor Dr. Arndt, and then from the others.
Okay, so we have an only English program, and you need certain requirements. The ones I showed you, it's a B2 level English. Of course, I can recommend people if they come to Germany and they want to live in Germany and so forth, and maybe they want to work later in Germany, if they come to take courses and classes from our language center to learn German, but it's not necessary to for the lectures and for studying. But for living in Germany, it might be helpful if you want to learn some German, but it's not necessary.
Yeah, this I also can just only prove that it's really useful, because me as an international student, it is very important also to know German in everyday life. And Professor Dr. Jung, would you add something to that?
Basically, I do agree with my colleagues. Although Frankfurt is quite an international place and there are offices, architecture offices, and this program is addressing exclusively those students who have bachelor in architecture, or at least 180 credit points in architecture training. We have a couple of internationally operating offices, and so also the English-speaking students have a chance to work in these offices. But of course, it's greatly of great help to know some German or to even know more. And we are helping, assisting you in this, of course. And we have the same time, kind of accommodating colleagues. Our guest professor, for instance, our last guest professor is from Spain. We had a Portuguese. Myself, I was living, I don't know for how long, in Italy. And so we are trying to assist you in communication, but at the end of the day, you need to have that English as for entering the program, and you should do the German.
Okay, so I think that our attendees got your signals from all of you. Yes, you should know English well, it's very important, but don't forget about German as well. So now I would like to wrap up today's presentation. I want to say thank you very much to all the speakers and to all those who were answering the questions in the Q&A. It was really great. I would say from my side, it was one of the most successful subject webinars that I have ever done so far, because we have answered over 50 questions and we have over 70 questions in total. And now with these answers and during your presentations, you actually answered, I would say, all of them. That was really great. And now I would just to remind our attendees, so if you want to contact us directly, if you have any questions, you're always welcome first to go and check answers at mygermanuniversity.com, and also write us at info@mygermanuniversity.com. I think Eileen has already shared our email in the chat as well. And as a note, final note, if you are happy with our webinars, with the things we are doing here, you are always welcome to rate us on Facebook or on Google. And Eileen has also shared direct links where you can give us your feedback as well. Okay, so once again, dear guests, dear attendees, thank you very much for this really, really fruitful webinar. It was really interesting for me. I got lots of interesting information for all our speakers, and I wish you all good evening, have a good day, or good morning, I don't know, based on whenever you are. Thank you very much once again, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck also to my colleagues.
Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great time. Bye-bye.